Far away in the galaxy, the Thalrian alliance was in trouble. Their planets were bright and full of life, but now smoke and fire covered many worlds. The enemy, a creature called the Kravthar Swarm, moved from system to system. It consumed everything. Cities fell, forests burned, and oceans boiled. The Thalrian had never faced such danger. In the capital city of Aerolith Prime, Ambassador Velran paced across the palace halls. His long arms gestured with worry, and his eyes darted to the communications console. "We have sent messages to every nearby power," he said. "No one has answered. Our people will die if we wait any longer." His assistant, a young Thalrian named Lyra, looked at him with fear in her eyes. Perhaps someone will come," she whispered. But even she did not believe it. The galaxy was full of proud and selfish powers. Most cared more for their own safety than for helping a weak race like the Thalrian. Velran sighed. He tapped a few keys on the console and sent out another signal. This one was different. It was not just a call for help. It was a plea. "To anyone who can hear us," he spoke softly, sending the message into the void. "Our worlds are dying. If you have strength, if you have courage, please come. Help us. We do not ask for conquest. We ask only for mercy." Days passed. Weeks passed. Silence. Only the emptiness of space answered back. On Aerolith Prime, fear grew. Families huddled in shelters as the swarm approached nearby systems. Farmers abandoned their fields. Children stopped playing in the streets. Even the city's bright towers seemed dull under the weight of worry. Then one evening, the unexpected happened. A small blip appeared on the communication console. A signal from a planet called Earth. The Thalrian had heard of Earth only in passing. It was a small, distant world, young and primitive by the galaxy's standards. Most considered it too dangerous to approach. The signal was simple. There were no fancy words or displays of power. A voice spoke, steady and calm, in a language the Thalrian could understand through their translation devices. "We heard you. Help is coming. Hold fast." Velran's long fingers shook as he pressed the response key. Who are you?" he asked. The voice replied, "We are humans. We come from Earth. We know your pain. Prepare for our arrival." The Thalrian had no time to question it. Within days, human ships were leaving Earth's orbit. They were not elegant, polished vessels. They looked worn, battle-scarred, and dangerous. The hulls were dark, the engines strong. These were not diplomats. These were warriors. Among them was Captain Laura Pierce. She stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Resolute, her eyes calm but sharp. She had fought many battles on Earth and Mars, and she had seen what it meant to survive impossible odds. Beside her were her closest team: Ethan Cole, a clever engineer who could fix anything; Dr. Nora Hale, a medic who had worked in disaster zones and war zones alike; and Commander Alex Turner, her second-in-command, steady and loyal. As the fleet traveled through the stars, the humans discussed little. They focused on training drills, weapon tests, and navigation. But they also spoke quietly of what they had seen on their homeworlds, how humans had survived fires, floods, wars, and disease. They had learned to never give up, no matter the danger. The journey was long. Weeks passed in silence except for the hum of engines and the occasional crackle of communication. The Thalrian watched from their star systems, unsure what to expect. When the human fleet appeared above Aerolith Prime, the Thalrian were shocked. The ships entered orbit with no ceremony. Their hulls bore scars from battles no one in the galaxy had seen. Smoke and burn marks lined the edges of the fleet. The humans themselves were visible through viewports. They wore armor that looked heavy but moved with speed and strength. Their eyes, even from orbit, seemed to burn with determination. Ambassador Velran and the Council gathered to meet these strange beings. They had prepared speeches, gifts, and ceremonies. But when Captain Pierce stepped forward to meet them, she ignored the formalities. She looked at the Thalrian without fear. "I am Laura Pierce," she said plainly. "We are here to help. Show us the enemy. Tell us what must be saved. We will fight with you, not against you." The Thalrian were unsure how to respond. Many feared humans. They had heard stories. Humans were said to be savage, dangerous, and unpredictable. They had survived worse than anyone else, but at a cost. Yet here they stood, offering their strength freely. Ambassador Velran found his voice. You do not know our ways. Our technology is advanced. Our fleets are strong, but our warriors are not built for this enemy. If you fight with us, you risk much." Captain Pierce nodded. We know the risks. That is why we are here. We do not fight for glory. We fight for life. Show us where the Kravthar are. We will go first, the council whispered among themselves. Some were horrified. Others were unsure. But Velrun could see something in the humans that he had never seen in the galaxy before. Courage. Fearless courage that did not seek power or profit, only survival and protection. And then the first message came from the front lines. A small Thalrian settlement was under attack. The Kravthar had reached the outer system faster than anyone expected. The humans wasted no time. Captain Pierce gave orders and the fleet moved. Human ships raced through the stars faster than Thalrian ships, their engines blazing. The humans deployed small strike teams, Marines in heavy armor, weapons in hand. Ethan Cole worked with alien engineers to modify local weapons. He attached human energy modules to Thalrian cannons, boosting their firepower. Dr. Hale set up field hospitals, showing Thalrian medics how to stabilize wounded civilians quickly. When they reached the settlement, the Thalrian were stunned. The humans did not just fire weapons, they coordinated evacuations. They pulled civilians from collapsing buildings, shielded children from fire, and fought the Kravthar with precise and relentless attacks. For hours, the battle raged. Smoke filled the sky and the screams of the dying echoed across the plains. The Thalrian warriors watched in disbelief. They had expected saviors, but these humans were something else. They were not just strong, they were clever, fearless and merciless toward the enemy, yet gentle to the weak. By nightfall, the Kravthar were forced to retreat. The settlement was damaged, but most of the people were alive. The Thalrian could hardly believe it. Ambassador Velrun approached Captain Pierce. "Your people, your warriors, they are unlike anything we imagined," he said. Pierce shook her head. "We are not here to amaze you. We are here to fight, to protect. That is what humans do." As the Thalrian looked at the humans, something changed. Fear began to mix with respect. The galaxy had ignored their cries. But these beings from a small blue world had answered, not with politics, not with negotiations, but with action. Velrun realized something he had never thought possible. Perhaps the legends were true. Perhaps humans were not just survivors. Perhaps they were something more. And as the stars above Aerolith Prime shone faintly through the smoke and dust, the humans prepared for the battles ahead. They did not ask for thanks. They only asked for the chance to fight and to protect those who could not protect themselves. The Thalrian had asked for aid, but what came was something far stranger, far stronger, and far more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. The Deathworlders of Earth had arrived, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The human fleet hovered above Aerolith Prime, dark silhouettes against the glowing planet below. The Thalrian had gathered on observation decks and in council chambers, staring at the ships with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Many had heard stories about humans, terrible tales passed down through generations. The humans were said to survive the deadliest places, to fight without mercy, and to endure pain that would kill other species. Yet, as Captain Laura Pierce stepped off her ship onto the palace grounds, none of those stories seemed to capture the truth. She was tall, steady, and calm, her gaze sharp but not cruel. Behind her came her team, Ethan Cole always fidgeting with some gadget or device, Dr. Nora Hale carrying supplies and medical equipment, and Commander Alex Turner, who watched every corner with careful eyes. Ambassador Velrun approached, his long robe swaying as he walked. "Captain Pierce," he said, "your people are unlike anything we expected. You claim to help, yet your appearance, your ships, you are Deathworlders, dangerous beings by reputation. Why should we trust you?" Pierce looked him in the eyes and replied simply, "We do not ask for trust. We ask for action. Show us the enemy. Tell us where to go. We will fight. We will protect." The council muttered among themselves. Some Thalrian elders whispered about humans being reckless, unpredictable. Others felt a spark of hope, something they had not felt in weeks. The first test came sooner than anyone expected. A border planet, Soren 4, sent urgent signals. The Kravthar had struck without warning. Their swarms were massive, and the planet's defenses, though strong, were collapsing. Velrun turned to Pierce. "They are attacking thousands of our citizens. If you do not act, they will die." Pierce nodded. "We will go." The human ships jumped into hyperspace first, faster than Thalrian vessels. They arrived at Soren 4 in hours, though it had taken weeks for the Thalrian to send reinforcements. From orbit, they could see the devastation. Cities burned, forests were on fire, and smoke choked the skies. The Kravthar moved with terrifying speed, tearing apart buildings and consuming life. Pierce called her officers. Split into teams. Ethan, work with their engineers. Nora, get to the civilians. Alex, lead the Marines. I will be on the front lines. Move fast, move smart. We do not fail. Ethan landed on the planet first, running across the debris-strewn streets. He examined the Thalrian cannons, shaking his head. These are strong but outdated, he muttered. Within minutes, he attached human energy amplifiers, hybrid devices that could double the weapon's firepower. Thalrian engineers looked at him in awe. Meanwhile, Nora set up a triage station near the largest city. Civilians ran toward her, afraid but desperate. She worked with Thalrian healers, showing them how to stabilize broken bones quickly, how to clean wounds efficiently, and how to calm the terrified children. She did not scold or complain. She moved from one patient to the next, her hands steady, her voice soft but firm. On the battlefield, Captain Pierce led a squad of Marines into the thick of the swarm. Kravthar drones swarmed around them, their claws tearing at stone and metal. The humans did not hesitate. They fired energy rifles with precision, planted explosive charges to cut off the swarm's advance, and formed protective lines around civilians. Thalrian warriors watched in disbelief. These humans fought with strategy, courage, and speed that no one had ever seen. They risked themselves to protect others. They fought not for glory or honor, but to save lives. The battle raged for hours. Smoke filled the air. Fire painted the horizon red, and the screams of the wounded echoed across the plains. The Kravthar were relentless, but the humans were relentless too. For every drone that attacked, 2 humans countered. For every civilian in danger, a human shielded them, pulling them away from harm. Finally, as night fell, the Kravthar began to retreat. Many had fallen, but the humans had held the line. The city was battered, but most of its people were alive. Ambassador Velrun approached Captain Pierce once more. Your warriors, they are extraordinary. They fight like nothing we have ever seen. Pierce shook her head. We fight because it is right. We fight because we know what it is to be helpless. If someone is in danger, we cannot stand by. That is what humans do. The Thalrian Council gathered that night in the palace. Some were angry. These humans are reckless. One elder shouted, They put themselves in danger and ours. Another whispered, They are monsters, yes, but they are the only monsters who save instead of destroy. Velrun stood silently, watching. He realized the truth. Humans were not like any other species he had known. They were survivors, yes, but more than that. They were warriors with hearts that refused to break no matter how dire the situation. The humans did not stop with the first battle. Over the next weeks, they moved from world to world, wherever the Kravthar attacked. Ethan worked tirelessly to improve weapons and defenses. He combined human technology with Thalrian systems in ways the aliens had never imagined. He was reckless, inventive, and brilliant. Dr. Hale became a symbol of hope on every world she visited. Civilians who had seen their families destroyed now had a chance to survive. Soldiers who had lost their courage found strength in her words. Pain is not the end, she told them. Pain means you are alive. And if you are alive, you fight. Captain Pierce led from the front. She walked into the fiercest battles, never asking anyone else to take the risk alone. She taught the Thalrian how to move quickly, how to fight in ways that relied not on magic or advanced systems, but on courage, determination, and teamwork. The Thalrian began to see something they had never seen in their history. Humans did not just survive, they inspired others to survive. They did not simply win battles, they showed others how to win with purpose. One night, after a long day of fighting on Soren IV, Pierce gathered her team. Ethan was exhausted but smiling, holding a newly repaired energy cannon. Nora cleaned her hands and prepared new medical supplies. Alex leaned against the wall, quiet and thoughtful. Pierce looked at them. We are making a difference, she said. Not everyone understands us. Not everyone will. But what we do matters. The Thalrian may not know it yet, but they will remember. And the galaxy will remember that humans came when no one else would. Ethan looked at her. Do you think they will ever understand why we do this? Why we risk everything? Pierce nodded. Maybe not. Maybe they never will. But they will remember that we were here. That is enough. Sometimes action is louder than words. The next morning, the human fleet moved to another system, another world under attack. The Kravthar were spreading, faster and stronger than anyone imagined. But the humans were ready. They did not pause. They did not ask for permission. They fought, and wherever they went, the Thalrian watched, learning. They began to trust the humans, slowly but surely. They saw that these Deathworlders from Earth were not monsters to fear. They were saviors in ways the galaxy had never seen before. For the first time in weeks, hope returned to the Thalrian. They could see their cities rebuilding, their people surviving, and their warriors gaining courage. Humans had arrived not with diplomacy but with action, not with promises but with power and heart combined. And as the stars stretched endlessly above, the humans pressed on, always forward, always ready to fight. The Thalrian had asked for aid, but what came was far more than help. It was humanity itself in its rawest, most dangerous, and most inspiring form. The Deathworlders of Earth had come, and the galaxy would soon learn why no one could stop them. The war against the Kravthar swarm had reached its darkest point. Entire systems burned. Stars were swallowed in smoke and ash, and countless Thalrian had lost their homes and families. The humans had fought from the beginning, but even they felt the strain. Captain Laura Pierce watched the horizon from the Resolute's bridge, her jaw tight, eyes scanning the incoming signals of yet another attack. Beside her, Commander Alex Turner adjusted the fleet's shields. "Another system under siege," he said quietly. "They are spreading faster than we can track," Pierce nodded. "We cannot let them take any more lives. Send in the strike teams and evacuations first. We fight for the people, not the ground they stand on." Ethan Cole worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, attaching hybrid modules to Thalrian ships. The machines hummed with energy, glowing brighter with each successful upgrade. He was exhausted, but he refused to rest. "If we can make these ships stronger, faster, smarter, then more lives can be saved," he said. His words were simple, but the message was clear. Humans would not give up. On the surface of the next attacked world, Dr. Nora Hale set up her field hospital in the middle of a ruined city square. The smell of smoke and burning metal filled the air. Civilians huddled in corners, eyes wide with fear. Children clung to their parents, trembling. Nora worked quickly, her hands moving steadily even when her heart ached. She bandaged wounds, soothed panicked cries, and gave water to those too weak to stand. The Thalrian healers looked at her in awe. They had studied medicine for centuries, yet the humans' methods were faster, more practical, and shockingly effective. "How can she do so much so quickly?" one healer whispered to another. Nora smiled faintly. "We do what we must," she said softly. "Life cannot wait." Meanwhile, the battle raged across the city outskirts. Captain Pierce led a small squad of Marines directly into the thick of the Kravthar swarm. Their claws and energy beams tore through buildings, but the humans did not falter. Each step forward was precise. Each shot counted. For every alien drone that approached a civilian, a human was there to block, shield, and push them to safety. Thalrian warriors watched in amazement. Their fleet had never fought like this. Their minds had relied on technology and precision, but humans relied on courage, determination, and the refusal to give up. Even when the casualties began to rise, the humans pressed forward. A young Marine, Samuel Dean, fell to a Kravthar strike while shielding a group of children. Captain Pierce did not pause to mourn. She rallied her squad, fought back the drones, and ensured the civilians escaped. Later, she carried Samuel's body to the field hospital herself, honoring him quietly. The Thalrian began to understand something important. Humans were willing to pay any price to protect others. Death did not scare them. Pain did not stop them. Even when they were outnumbered, outgunned, and exhausted, they moved forward because they believed that life was worth fighting for. After the battle, Velrin approached Captain Pierce again. His eyes were filled with worry and admiration. "Your people. They risk everything. Many have died, and yet you continue. Why?" Pierce's face was calm but determined. "Because no life is worthless. Every life matters. We have seen death take everything we love. We do not want others to feel that pain if we can stop it. That is why we fight." The Thalrian Council held a meeting that night. Arguments filled the chamber. "The humans are reckless," one elder shouted. "They throw themselves into danger." Another said, "They are monsters, yes, but monsters who save lives. Perhaps this is what we need." Velrun remained silent, reflecting on what he had witnessed. He had feared the humans at first, but now he saw clearly that they were not reckless. They were fearless in the face of danger, yes, but every action was carefully measured to protect the innocent. As the weeks passed, the humans continued to push the Kravthar back. Ethan's engineering genius became even more critical. He modified Thalrian weapons to combine the energy systems with human propulsion. Cannons fired faster, ships moved quicker, and even the oldest defenses were renewed. The Thalrian began to call him the Clever One. Nora continued her work with civilians and soldiers alike. She taught Thalrian medics how to triage quickly, how to keep morale high, and how to treat injuries that no Thalrian had faced before. Children learned to trust humans, soldiers learned to fight with humans, and entire cities found hope again. Captain Pierce faced her own challenges. One day, a Kravthar assault destroyed a key orbital station. Hundreds of civilians and soldiers were killed. Some Thalrian blamed the humans, claiming their presence had provoked the enemy. Pierce felt the weight of responsibility. She had led these warriors into danger, and many had died, but she did not give in to fear or regret. She gathered her team. "We cannot dwell on what is lost," she said. "We fight for those still alive. We fight because if we stop, more will die. We must continue. That is our duty." Her words inspired even the Thalrian soldiers. Slowly, fear turned into courage. Slowly, despair turned into determination. The humans' example was contagious. They showed that even in the darkest moments, life was worth defending. One particularly fierce battle took place on the planet Kirill 4. The Kravthar had surrounded the city, cutting off all escape routes. The humans deployed quickly, creating barriers to protect civilians while they fought. Ethan and his team had rigged the city's power grid to explode in controlled blasts, cutting off parts of the enemy swarm. Captain Pierce led a direct assault on the Kravthar leader, a massive drone that coordinated the others. With precision and courage, she and her Marines disabled it, causing confusion among the swarm. Nora moved through the streets, treating the wounded and calming terrified families. By nightfall, the city was safe. The Thalrian had never seen humans fight like this. They were brutal when necessary, gentle when needed, and tireless at all times. Ambassador Velrun admitted to himself that humans were unlike any other species he had known. They were Deathworlders, yes, born from a harsh and dangerous planet, but they were also protectors, warriors, and teachers. In private, Velrun spoke to one of his advisors. "Perhaps we have underestimated them," he said. "They do not fight for power. They do not fight for territory. They fight because they must. And in that they are extraordinary." Captain Pierce continued to lead her team from one battle to the next. She rarely slept, rarely rested, and always observed the smallest details of the battlefield. Her leadership inspired both humans and Thalrian. Soldiers who had lost hope found courage in her presence. Civilians who had faced death found hope in her actions. Ethan's work grew bolder. He began experimenting with combining human and Thalrian technology in ways the aliens had never imagined. Drones that had been slow and clumsy now moved with speed and intelligence. Defensive shields absorbed attacks that would have destroyed entire cities. His inventions saved thousands of lives. Nora Hale's reputation spread across the galaxy. Civilians told stories of the human healer who never left a wounded behind, who always found a way to keep hope alive. Soldiers called her the Angel of Battle, though she insisted she was just doing her duty. The human's presence changed the Thalrian in more ways than one. Their courage, resourcefulness, and mercy inspired a new generation of warriors. Young Thalrian who had been afraid to fight now stood taller. Adults who had lost hope now found reason to continue. By the end of the month, the Thalrian began to understand something important. Humans were not just warriors. They were a symbol of what it meant to survive, to protect, and to inspire. They were the first species in the galaxy to fight with both strength and mercy, and their example was contagious. Captain Pierce looked at the stars above Kirill 4 and spoke quietly to her team. "We are far from home," she said, "but this is where we are needed. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting even when fear is there. That is why we fight." Her words were simple yet powerful. They reminded everyone that even in the darkest hours, hope could still shine. The Thalrian had asked for aid. The galaxy had ignored their cries, but the humans had come. They fought with skill, with courage, and with heart. They taught the Thalrian that life was worth defending, and slowly, very slowly, the tide of war began to shift. The cost of mercy was high. Many humans had fallen. Many more were injured. Yet, even in loss, the humans pressed forward. They had seen the price of hesitation, and they refused to pay it again. And as the stars stretched endlessly above the galaxy, the humans continued to fight, never yielding, never resting, always moving toward the next battle. For the Thalrian, hope had returned. For the galaxy, a new legend was beginning. The Deathworlders of Earth were here, and no enemy, no matter how powerful, would underestimate them again. The galaxy had never seen a war like this. The Kravthar swarm moved across star systems with terrifying speed, consuming everything in its path. Entire planets had been lost and countless lives had been taken. Yet the humans from Earth pressed forward without fear. Captain Laura Pierce stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes fixed on the map of the galaxy. Systems marked in red were under attack. Systems in green were holding, but barely. "Captain," Commander Alex Turner said, "we have detected the central hive of the Kravthar. The Queen is located on a fortress world. If we can destroy it, the swarm will collapse." Pierce clenched her jaw. "Then that is where we go. Prepare the fleet. I want every Marine, every engineer, and every medic ready. This will be the hardest fight yet." Ethan Cole was already at work examining the fleet's weapons and ship systems. "If we can get the orbital cannons in position," he said, "and modify them with human energy cores, we can take out the Queen's command network. It will be risky, but it might work." Dr. Nora Hale looked up from her medical supplies. "If we do this, casualties will be high. Many may not return." Pierce nodded. "I know the risk, but we cannot wait. The swarm will continue until nothing remains. We fight to save millions of lives." The humans jumped into hyperspace with precision, faster than the Thalrian fleet could hope to match. Weeks of planning and preparation had been compressed into a single urgent mission. The fortress world loomed ahead, a massive planet surrounded by dark energy fields and hundreds of Kravthar drones. The Hive Queen's presence was unmistakable. Pierce gathered her strike team. "This will be difficult. The enemy is strong, intelligent, and relentless. But so are we. Ethan, you and your team get the orbital cannons ready. Nora, the field hospital goes up as soon as we land. Alex, you lead the Marines on the surface. I will be with you. Move fast, move smart. Protect civilians first." The assault began. Human ships moved in formation, striking at the outer defenses of the fortress world. Cannons fired, shields flashed, and explosions lit the darkness of space. Kravthar drones swarmed around the fleet, attacking with energy beams and deadly claws. Yet the humans did not hesitate. Every ship, every weapon, every Marine moved with precision, calculated risk, and unwavering courage. Ethan worked tirelessly, linking human energy modules with Thalrian weapons. Cannons that had once been slow and weak now fired with incredible speed and power. Drones fell by the hundreds. Thalrian engineers watched in awe, struggling to understand how one human could do so much so quickly. On the planet's surface, Captain Pierce led her Marines through ruined cities and burning plains. The Kravthar were everywhere. They attacked with claws, acid, and energy blasts. Every step forward was dangerous. Yet the humans pressed on. They protected civilians, pulled the wounded to safety, and destroyed the enemy with coordinated strikes. Dr. Hale worked in the field hospital, treating dozens of civilians and soldiers at once. She organized Thalrian medics, teaching them to prioritize the most critical injuries first. Even as explosions shook the ground and drones attacked overhead, she did not stop. Her calm and steady presence gave hope to those who had none. Ethan ran across the battlefield, setting charges, repairing weapons, and improvising defenses. "We can't let them regroup," he shouted over the roar of battle. "The Queen's network must fall tonight." The fight grew fiercer. Captain Pierce saw one of her Marines, a young recruit named Jason Mills, fall under a swarm attack while protecting civilians. She ran to him, fought off the drones, and dragged him to safety. His injuries were serious, but he survived thanks to her quick thinking and courage. Hours passed. The humans pushed deeper into the fortress world. They destroyed drone factories, cut off enemy reinforcements, and protected fleeing civilians. The Thalrian soldiers, inspired by the humans' bravery, began to fight with new confidence. Where they had once hesitated, they now moved with determination. Ethan activated the final stage of his plan. The hybrid cannons fired at the heart of the hive, targeting the Queen's central command network. Massive explosions rocked the planet, sending shockwaves through the Kravthar ranks. The drones faltered. Confusion spread. The Queen's control began to collapse. Captain Pierce led the final assault on the Queen's chamber. She and her Marines fought through swarms of drones using strategy, courage, and sheer will to reach the heart of the hive. There the Queen loomed, a massive and terrifying creature commanding thousands of drones at once. Pierce raised her weapon. "For life," she whispered, and fired. The blast hit the Queen's control core directly. The chamber shook, the Queen screamed, and the drones began to collapse. Even as victory came, the cost was clear. Many human Marines had fallen. Ships were damaged or destroyed. Ethan and his team were exhausted, repairing what they could. Dr. Hale treated dozens of wounded, some barely clinging to life. Captain Pierce looked around at her team, knowing that this victory had not come without sacrifice. Velryn approached once the battle was over. His eyes were wide with awe and gratitude. "Captain Pierce," he said, "your people, they are extraordinary. They risked everything and yet never faltered. They fought not for power but for life itself." Pierce shook her head. "We fight because life is worth defending. That is what humans do. That is what we will always do." The Thalarian began to rebuild. Entire cities were in ruins, but thanks to the humans, millions had survived. Children returned to their homes. Families were reunited. Soldiers regained their courage. And slowly hope returned to a galaxy that had nearly given up. Ethan looked at the battlefield and smiled faintly. "We did it," he said. "The Queen is gone. The swarm will fall apart." Dr. Hale placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, but there is still much to do. We saved lives today, but we must continue to protect the galaxy." Captain Pierce nodded. "This is only the beginning. We have shown that even in the darkest times, life can fight back. Humans do not give up. We do not abandon the weak, and we never stop fighting." The Thalarian people gathered to honor the humans. They built monuments not just to their own fallen, but to those who had come from Earth to fight alongside them. Stories spread across the galaxy of humans who risked everything to save strangers, who fought with courage, and who inspired others to stand even when hope seemed lost. Velryn stood before the monuments, reflecting on what he had seen. "The galaxy has underestimated humanity," he said quietly. "They are not just warriors. They are teachers, protectors, and symbols of hope. We owe them everything." Captain Pierce looked at the stars above the reconstructed cities. "Earth may be small," she said softly, "but our people carry a strength that cannot be measured. When life is threatened, we rise. When others fail, we act. That is who we are. That is what it means to be a death worlder from Earth." The humans prepared to leave the fortress world, their mission complete. But even as they departed, their presence had changed the Thalarian forever. Soldiers now fought with courage, engineers built smarter defenses, and medics worked with renewed efficiency. The humans had shown them that survival was possible, even against impossible odds. And though the battle had been won, Captain Pierce knew that the galaxy would never be safe for long. Other threats would come. Other enemies would rise. But humans would be ready. They would fight, they would protect, and they would inspire. The Death Worlders of Earth had turned the tide of the war. They had faced impossible odds, paid the price of mercy, and emerged victorious. And as their ships disappeared into the stars, one thing was certain. Wherever life was in danger, humans would be there. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors of hope, guardians of life. And the Death Worlders of Earth had shown that even the smallest planet could produce the strongest hearts. Months passed since the last battle against the Kravthar swarm. The galaxy slowly began to recover. Smoke still rose from burned cities, and scarred planets took time to heal. Yet thanks to the humans from Earth, countless lives had been saved, and the Thalarian had survived. Their world was quiet for the first time in many cycles, but the memory of war lingered in every street and every home. Captain Laura Pierce stood on a hill overlooking one of the rebuilt cities on Aerolith Prime. The sun was rising, casting gold and red light over the towers and gardens that had been damaged in the fighting. She took a deep breath, her uniform dusty and worn from months of battles, and felt a strange mix of relief and responsibility. Beside her, Ethan Cole adjusted a small piece of machinery. It was a defensive system for the city, a hybrid of human and Thalarian technology. "It's working better than I expected," he said. "The city is safer now than it was before the war." Dr. Nora Hale walked past carrying supplies for the local hospitals. Every system we improve, every life we save matters, she said. Even after the fighting ends, our work continues. Alex Turner joined them, looking out toward the horizon. We've done more than fight, he said. We've given them hope. They'll never forget that. The Thalrian people had begun to rebuild their society. Young Thalrian trained with humans, learning new ways to defend themselves. Engineers studied Ethan's hybrid technology, eager to improve it further. Medics worked alongside Nora, learning practical ways to save lives in emergencies. Even diplomats studied humans' courage, their quick decision-making, and their willingness to act without fear. Ambassador Velrun approached the group, walking slowly across the hill. His face showed both weariness and gratitude. Captain Pierce, he said, your people, they are unlike anything we have ever known. They risked everything for us. They fought not for power, not for territory, but for life itself. We will never forget it. Pierce nodded, her eyes scanning the city below. We are not heroes. We do what we must. Every life is worth saving. That is what humans do. The Thalrian began to see humans not as dangerous beings from a harsh planet, but as teachers, protectors, and allies. Stories of human bravery spread across the galaxy. Songs were sung of Captain Pierce leading her Marines into the heart of the Kravthar swarm. Children learned about Ethan's clever inventions and Nora's tireless work saving lives. Alex Turner's leadership became an example for soldiers of many species. Even the galaxy's other races, once indifferent to the Thalrian plight, began to take notice. News of Earth's warriors traveled faster than any diplomatic message. Planets that had ignored the Thalrian now sent messages of respect and admiration. Humans had shown that a small, seemingly fragile world could produce beings capable of changing the fate of countless species. One evening, as the stars twinkled above Aerolith Prime, Captain Pierce gathered her team. We've done what we came to do, she said. The Kravthar are gone, the people are safe, and life can continue. But our work is not finished. We must continue to help wherever we are needed. Ethan looked thoughtful. Do you think the Thalrian will ever truly understand us? He asked. Why we risked so much? Pierce smiled faintly. Maybe not completely. Some things cannot be explained. But they will remember it. That is enough. Action speaks louder than words. We fought, we saved lives, and we inspired them. That is enough. Nora Hale adjusted her medical bag and added, They have already changed. They fight with courage now. They protect their own. They will carry what we have taught them into the future. Alex Turner nodded. And that is our legacy. Not the battles we won, but the lives we touched, the courage we inspired, and the hope we gave them. The humans prepared to return to Earth. The fleet assembled in orbit, engines ready for the journey home. The Thalrian gathered to bid them farewell. Children waved from the rebuilt streets. Soldiers stood at attention, saluting the humans who had led them through the darkest days. Ambassador Velrun spoke one last time. Captain Pierce, humans of Earth, you have given us more than life. You have given us hope, courage, and the example of strength with mercy. The galaxy will remember you. Pierce looked at him and nodded. Remember this, Ambassador, life is precious. Courage is not the absence of fear, and mercy is the greatest strength of all. Protect it, teach it, and never forget it. As the human fleet jumped into hyperspace, the Thalrian watched in silence. The ships disappeared from view, leaving only the memory of their presence and the impact they had made. Back on Earth, Captain Pierce, Ethan, Nora, and Alex were greeted quietly. The planet was peaceful, its people unaware of the full scale of what their warriors had achieved. They had fought across the galaxy, faced impossible odds, and returned home without the need for glory or reward. Their actions had changed not just the Thalrian, but the entire galaxy. Ethan looked at the familiar blue skies. It's strange to be home, he said. After all that, it feels quiet. Nora Hale smiled softly. Quiet is good, but remember our work never truly ends. Wherever life is threatened, humans must be ready to act. Captain Pierce nodded. And we will. That is who we are. That is what it means to be a Deathworlder from Earth. We rise when others cannot. We fight when others flee. We protect when others ignore. That is our legacy. The story of humans fighting alongside the Thalrian spread across the stars. Other species began to look to Earth not with fear, but with respect. Humans became known as guardians of life, warriors who risked everything for others, and teachers who inspired courage and mercy. Years later, The Thalrian built monuments not just for their own fallen, but for the humans who had fought beside them. Statues of Captain Pierce, Ethan Cole, Nora Hale, and Alex Turner stood in city squares. Schools taught children about the humans' bravery. Engineers studied Ethan's inventions. Medics followed Nora's methods. And soldiers remembered Pierce's leadership, courage, and example. The galaxy had learned something it had long forgotten. Strength alone was not enough. Mercy, courage, and the willingness to protect others were the greatest powers of all. And on Earth, life returned to normal. The humans who had fought across the stars walked quietly among their own people. They did not seek reward, fame, or honor. They had done what they must. Yet in their hearts they knew this truth. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and there would always be those who cried for help. And when they did, the Deathworlders of Earth would rise again. Captain Pierce stood on a quiet hill one evening, looking at the stars. "We answered their call," she said softly. "We showed what humanity can do. We gave hope, and we will continue to do so, wherever it is needed." Ethan, Nora, and Alex stood beside her. They did not need to speak. The silence between them was filled with understanding. They had risked everything. They had saved millions. And they had changed the galaxy forever. The Thalrian remembered. The galaxy remembered. And Earth's people, the Deathworlders, were ready. Always ready to fight, to protect, and to inspire. The legacy of the humans was not in their weapons, ships, or power. It was in their courage, their mercy, and their unwavering determination to stand for life. That was the gift they left behind. That was the story the galaxy would never forget. And the stars above Earth shone brighter, as if acknowledging the humans who had shown the galaxy what true strength could be. The Deathworlders had returned home. But their legend had only begun.